Good morning, welcome back to the garage. Well, we're inside today because it's too cold outside. It's been snowing. I've done my chores and I'm here with my cup of coffee and we're going to discuss sub 250 drones. Okay, the mini wars, as they say. What you can buy right now in the sub 250 gram market. There's 5 of them, I believe. 6 of them. Okay, there's 3 DJIs. There's the Zino Mini Pro. There's the Zino Mini SE, and there is the Fimi X8 Mini. Okay, I only have the Mavic Mini. I didn't get the Mini SE or the Mini 2. They're virtually the same, and we'll show you that a little later. We're going to discuss the specs on these, what's right for you, what's wrong, reality versus speculation. Some of these drones have amazing specs, but they don't quite live up to the hype. Okay, we're going to discuss each one individually, and then as a collective group, what's the differences, why you may choose one over the other, and it's your choice. These are my opinions, my experiences. It's all on me. If you disagree, that's fine. Let me know why. I'm open to change my mind if someone can give me a reason why. Okay, I've flown them all, and this is just my opinion. Okay, let's get into it. Let's see which ones you like, which ones you don't, and the few annoyances that I have with each and every one of them. Okay, let's get into it. We'll clear the table and come back. Okay, let's get into it. I'm going to throw a spreadsheet up so you can follow along. And then I'll take the spreadsheet down when I get to each individual one. I want to show you a few little things physically. Okay? So here's the spreadsheet. Now I'm going to lump the DJI Minis into one category and discuss that because they're virtually the same. Okay? So as you look at the spreadsheet, the first 3 sections you'll see DJI Mavic Mini, the Mini SE, and the Mini 2. Okay? Now if I lump them together, the only real differences are that the Mini 2 can shoot in 4K at 30 frames per second. The other 2 can only shoot in 2.7K at 30 frames per second. The Mini 2 can also shoot in RAW, photographs in RAW and JPEG. The other 2 can only shoot in JPEG. Okay? As far as bit rate goes, the Mini 2 has a little bit better bit rate. It can shoot up to 100 bit rates, megabits per second, whatever. The other 2, it's about 40. Okay. Speed. Yes, the Mini 2 and the SE have slightly different motors than the Mavic Mini. But the Mavic Mini has a top speed of 13 meters per second, as does the SE, but the Mini 2 has a top speed of 16 meters per second, which is kind of weird because I thought that the SE had bigger motors than the Mavic Mini and had a better wind resistance. But apparently the top speed is the same as the Mavic Mini. So the Mini 2 has a bit better top speed. Okay? When you're going down to the battery, the Mavic Mini has a bigger battery at 7.2 volts, but the other 2 have a different battery. They're all lithium-ion, little slightly different battery. The SE and the M2, Mavic 2, are interchangeable. The Mini 2, sorry. Okay, they're interchangeable, but you can't put a Mavic Mini battery in an SE or a Mini 2. Okay? The other difference is the range, obviously, because the Mini 2 uses OcuSync, and you can pretty well double the distance with the OcuSync than you can with the other versions on the SE and the Mavic Mini, because they use the same clamshell style remote, and the new version of the remote goes with the Mini 2, which is much better. Price-wise, if you can find the Mavic Mini, it may go for around $389. I couldn't very well find many places you could buy it, but the few that I did, it was about $389. The Mini SE, it's available for $299, and the Mavic 2 is available for $449. So you're paying about $150 more for the controller, OcuSync, 4K, and a little bit faster speed. Okay? And as you go through all of them there, they all have the same flight time. Okay? The operating temperature is between 0 and 40 degrees Celsius, but I have flown the Mavic Mini in minus 18, minus 20 degrees Celsius with no issues at all. I'm not going to fly it for 30 minutes, but I flew it for about 15 minutes in minus 18. No problems at all. No jello, no jitters, no lost connections. So it does fly in the cold weather very well. Okay? All of the Mini series for DJI use codec H.264. Now that's another sore spot we're going to get into a little bit later. H.264 is an older codec. They're now using H.265, but is it better? That's a big debate, okay? H.265 is higher compression. They say you get more in the same package. H.264 is less compression. The debate is less compression better than more compression? That's debatable, okay? What else is there? They all have the exact same camera, the exact same specs, but I have spoken to DJI and they are not opening up the SE or the Mavic Mini for it to allow 4K video. They're just not. It's 2.7K for the Mavic Mini and the Mini SE. Okay, so let's take that slide away and we're going to look at the Mavic Mini. Okay, here's the Mavic Mini, and you will notice that I've got this protective covering cage on it. It's a DJI cover, not very expensive. I think it was about $8. So why do I have this? Well, one of the big issues with the Mavic Mini was that the rear props, if you put them in the case, could easily get warped and damaged. Okay, and if you have this case, it protects them. They don't get wrecked, but you can't put it in a standard case. That's the main issue with that. Okay, the battery on this. Now the battery is lithium ion, whatever it is. Okay, and you can use this in the HUBSAN Zino Mini Pro and the HUBSAN Zino SE. You can't fly with it, but you can power them up and do things. So that's kind of a neat little thing. Okay, love the battery. And if you watch my channel for any length of time, you'll understand why I've got a sentimental value to this one because of the crash and loss and that whole story that goes with that. But that's that. Has a really good gimbal cover, very sturdy. Okay. I'm not too happy with the way this opens up, like the rear has to bend under. I don't like that. I like the ones that come out, like the rest of them. But that's that. But I've had this for about 2 years now, and phenomenal. Phenomenal drone. The negatives to this, well, let's start with the controller. I do not like this clamshell idea where you have to put your phone in here. I have to put a lifter in here, like the tablet holder, and put a phone on. And if you don't and you put your phone in here, you have to put the wires through here. I'm just not a big fan of it. It feels good, it works great, it handles beautiful. Just not a big fan of this, okay? That's just my opinion on that one. But it does use regular cables, okay? I can use any micro USB to anything, micro USB to Lightning, to C, to micro USB. I can buy a cable, I can use it, no problem at all. Not like some of the others. I also really like the skis I put on this, okay, to lift it off the ground a little bit more. It's a great purchase. But That's about it. The other negatives to this is it doesn't do that well in wind. Okay, it's not that powerful, and you get that warning coming up saying that, wind warning, land right away, and all this kind of stuff. And also, you are limited to 2.7K, but I will say the 2.7K video on the Mavic Mini is comparable to any 4K on the table. It really is. It's really, really good. Okay, and the range. The range says, if I look at my spreadsheet here, the range is about 4 kilometers on the spec sheet. Well, I think I've had it out max 1.8, 2.1, something like that. But where I am, there's a lot of trees, a lot of moisture. Sometimes I get 700 meters, sometimes 600 meters, 500 meters, depending. So the range isn't superb. And the other big negative from all of these that many, many, many will stay away from this is NFZs or NFZs, whichever country you come from. Okay? No fly zones, whether it's an airport or a hospital or a conservation area or whatever. You can't fly this. You can't get it off the ground. It'll say not allowed. Okay? The rest of them don't have that problem. Okay? So if you're wanting to fly in restricted areas or what they classify as no-fly zones, then this is not the drone for you. You can get permission to fly in those areas, in some of them, okay? It's not a hard thing, it's an email, you get it back, and I've got videos on that, going back to this one, okay? So that's that. Okay, let's put the spreadsheet back up. The Zino Mini Pro came out a month or so ago, a couple of months ago. The specs were incredible. Just look at those specs. The camera, okay? 4K 30. It only takes JPEG photos, and the bit rate, you can zap it up to 200. Okay? Well, someone once said, if you have a little bit of garbage and you multiply by that by 200, you get a lot of garbage. Well, yes and no. There is no real reason to zap it up to 200. It's an enormous file. But technically you should get a little bit better image quality. But the naked eye can hardly tell the difference. Okay? Most have found that just 60 megabits per second or 80 is fine. So the default on it is 100. If you leave it there, that's ample. It's a huge file, but that's ample. Okay? Going down this, maximum speed, 16 meters per second. That's pretty good. It only uses, look at the codec, it only uses H.265, which means you need a Windows 10 computer or better, okay? You need a very good processor like an i5 or an i7, okay? It is limiting itself that way in somewhat, okay? The battery, it's a huge battery, 7.2 volts, which is comparable to the 7.2 volts of the Mavic Mini that I spoke about earlier. So you can use it to power it up and do your updates if you didn't want to use the regular battery and all that kind of stuff, okay? It's got a 40-minute flight time. So what I do is I take 10 minutes off the speculated flight time, and that's what you're going to get on average, okay? So on average, I should at least get a nice 30-minute flight, which is great, okay? 10-kilometer range. Well, reality, maybe a third of that, but a lot better than the Mavic Mini, I will admit. In open areas, I have seen them go 8 kilometers on some of the YouTube channels, but in my experiences, it's about a third of what they really advertise, okay? And this is the only one, this and the Mini SE, or the Zino Mini SE, are the ones that have an operating temperature of from 0 to 50 degrees Celsius, not 40 degrees Celsius. Doesn't make much difference. But They do operate well below 10 degrees Celsius, okay, and into the minuses, okay. No gel, they do a phenomenal job, not like some other ones, okay. Price, that's the sticking point, $499. It's the highest price of the bunch. Does it live up to that? On specs, on paper, yeah, it's worth it. In reality, it doesn't live up to it, okay. The camera is a 1/1.3 CMOS, 48 megapixels for pictures. F-stop is 1.85, which is good for low light, and the field of view is 84, which is the biggest of the bunch by 1 degree. Okay, so let's take that slide away. Now we have the Zino Mini Pro. I like the controller. It's nice and heavy, it's beefy, it's got good finger control. You pull out at the bottom. It doesn't really fit my Galaxy S9 Plus with this nice big outer case because it just doesn't go quite. But I use the same holder, my tablet holder in here, and it works fine. And I have no problem with that. Again, it uses any cable, and I would not use the standard cables that come with it. I would use an aftermarket cable. Get a good one, okay? Cable Creations on Amazon, excellent cables, okay? And you can use any one, and they're great. Micro USB to C to whatever, and I've got a video on the cable issues with the Zino Mini Pro, okay? The actual drone itself. The gimbal cover. It's a very finicky gimbal cover. It's got a latch on the bottom that you have to take off first before you take it off. If you're rough with this, you're going to wreck your gimbal. You're going to have a gimbal error. Something's going to come up. You're going to have to redo it and all this kind of stuff. Be very careful when you put this on, okay? It has front and rear and down sensors, okay? That's great. It's got obstacle avoidance. No. It's got what I call ABS for drones, okay? It's got an automatic braking system. It doesn't avoid obstacles, it just brakes and stops. I often wondered, you're out, you return to home, and for some reason it's coming home like a crow straight, and it encounters a large tree that you didn't go on the way out. Well, it's going to stop, and then you're going to have to manipulate it and go around. If you lost connection way out there and it returned to home and it came in contact with an obstacle and you had obstacle avoidance on, it would stop, and then when the battery died, it would land. So there you go. And the biggest thing with this that many people talk about, the heat. It gets blisteringly hot, okay, if it's warm outside. If it's here, you're doing an update, it gets really hot. They have a heat shield, okay, to cover it. And sometimes I fly with that, and when it lands, I can hold it, and not a big deal, okay? The other thing with this is multiple times, if you don't use the obstacle avoidance, and say you want to use it for something, it'll always tell you to do a calibration. Well, if you watch my initial impressions video of the HUBSAN Zino Mini Pro, you'll know the headaches that that can cause, okay? And it only has eMMC memory, onboard memory. This one's a 64 gigabyte, okay? So every time you want to download your images, you've got to plug it into your computer, download them. There is an album on there with your phone that you can download to your phone, but you have to connect your phone to it, okay? It takes forever to download it, forever, okay? Even when you plug it into your computer, it takes a long time to download a video. Much easier if it had an SD card, all that kind of stuff, okay? So I don't know of anybody that uses the obstacle avoidance. That significantly reduces the heat problem. So basically, from the other ones, the $100 you're paying for extra is for the camera. Okay, so you get a 1/1.3 camera, where the rest of them are like 1 over 2.6 or 1 over 2.3. Okay, so yeah, there you go. Takes great pictures, no doubt about it. Flies superbly for HUBSAN. Handles really well. Handles the wind excellently. Has great range. Okay, just have a problem with the mechanics of the computers you have to use, the programs you have to use, and how you have to manipulate to get calculations and calibrations done, and having to plug it in to get the files off, and it's just, to me, it's just a pain in the butt. Okay, but I can use this battery on this one, so that's a good thing. I think they're going to change a few things, and we'll see where it goes from there. If they introduced H.264, I'd be much happier, but that's only me. Yeah, I have old computers. The other thing about this is, if you try and put it in a case, or you get a custom case, see right here? These wings here don't go flush to the body, okay? So your case has to be exaggerated over these, okay? That's the only thing with that. Okay, that's the HUBSAN Zino Mini Pro, okay? Okay, now we've got the HUBSAN Zino Mini SE. As you can see, it has a 1 over 2.6 CMOS, 12 megapixel for the camera. F-stop is 2.2 and the field of view is 80, a little less than the Mini Pro. Okay. It maxes out at 4K 30 frames per second. It only takes JPEG photos, and it alternates roughly 45 to 100 megabits per second in the bit rate. It does that automatically. It takes an SD card. You need a U3. I use a U3 Pro, SanDisk Extreme Pro. It's worked flawlessly. Okay, maximum speed of 14 meters per second, and it only uses H.264. Love it. Love it. I can take the SD card out. I can throw it into my DVD player. Yes, I'm old. I can throw it into my TV, I can throw it into the laptop, I can throw it into the tablet, anything, and I can, even the phone, I can take the SD card, put it in the phone, and I can view my movies right away. Okay? 45-minute flight time. Okay, so take 10 minutes off that, 35 minutes. Okay? It's minimum 10 minutes more than the Mavic Mini. Okay? So if I can get 35 minutes of flight time, that's incredible. Okay? Absolutely incredible. Okay? 6-kilometer range. That's not bad. I would half that, I would say, but who's going to go out 3 kilometers? But in my area here, I had it out. It was out a kilometer, and I didn't even notice. It was immaculate. It was beautiful. Beautiful. Again, the operating temperature is 0 to 50 degrees Celsius, but I had it out the other day, -7 and up there, probably -8, -9 degrees. No problems at all, okay? No jello, no jitters. It was great. Not much color in the video because it was extremely overcast and snowing. Okay, there you go. And the price, $349. With everything going on in the world, with the pandemic and the transportation issues and the shipping issues and the chip issues, all that kind of stuff, $349 is a great price. It's a great price, okay? So let's take this slide away and let's have a look at it here. Okay, here we have the Zino Mini SE, all white, same battery as the Pro, so you can interchange them. And what I like about this is, excuse me, sorry, what I don't like about this is the same thing. The rear, if you push them in, it pushes the arm out, okay? So the design is a little flawed, and again, they don't come with any protection on the bottom, but it doesn't get that hot really, but it's very close to the ground. It's about 2 millimeters off the ground. It's very close. I'm waiting for someone to come out with something like this that I can fit on the bottom and raise it off the ground a little bit more. Yes, it won't be a sub 250 gram drone then, but I'd like that to happen, okay? Again, it has the exact same configuration for the camera gimbal. It's got a latch system. You just have to be careful putting it on. Okay, so the camera is a 1 over 2.6 versus the Pro that is 1 over 1.3. Okay, so not as good in low light conditions, but very comparable to the Mavic Mini. Okay, very comparable. Not quite as crisp and sharp, not quite, but very good, very good. I like that. Okay, that's that one there. The controller's the exact same controller. It's configured a little different, has a different serial number inside. Each one is bound proprietary to the craft. Exactly the same operation. Okay, you can use any cable you want, and again, don't use the provided cables. No, you're going to get disconnects and problems and issues, and the other issue for disconnects is when you use your phone, excuse me, turn the Wi-Fi off. You don't need it. I use the Samsung S9 Plus. I used to use an S7 Edge, and that's what I'm taking this video with, is the S7 Edge. It's a phenomenal piece of equipment. Okay, you can get them on Amazon for, or even eBay for like 120 bucks, 150 bucks. I bought this off a marketplace, 250, everything. Not a scratch on it. Amazing. Okay, so there are some good deals in here, and I prefer to use this solely to pilot drones. Okay, no SIM card, no interference. I try and turn the Wi-Fi off when I fly so you don't get the pop-ups all the time, and those pop-ups can cause disconnects. Okay, we have seen that in the Mini Pro, disconnects can be caused by overheating, so be careful of that. Okay, overheating is not an issue with this one. Okay, it does get warm, it doesn't get hot, but it gets warm, but it's nowhere near the heat that's produced by this one. Okay, so overall, the $349 for this versus the $499 for this doesn't quite come in with, say, the SE for this at $299, and even the Mini 2. The Mini 2 seems to have the edge over these, okay? But no fly zone issues. Don't have any no fly zone issues with this. I've taken this to the conservation area that I had to get permission to fly this, and I just wanted to go up across the river and come back. Not a problem at all, okay? I'm not flying near airports, I'm not flying near hospitals, I'm not doing any of that kind of stuff. It's all common sense. This thing seems to fly anywhere, okay? That's about it for that one. Next, let's put the other slide up. Next, we have the Fimi X8 Mini. Okay, it has the same sensor as the Zino Mini SE. 12 megapixels, same, but it's got, and the same, it's got a slightly different f-stop value at 2.0, and the field of view is the same at 80. Okay. Currently, and I did make a mistake on the Zino Mini SE. Currently, it only does 30 frames per second. It's supposed to be coming up with the 60 frames per second for 1080, and for 720, and for 2.7K. It's not there yet, but it's supposed to be there, coming soon. Okay. Back to the Fimi X8 Mini. It takes photos in JPEG and DNG, like RAW. Okay, so it has that option. It also has the F-Log option that's not there on the Mini, HUBSAN Mini SE. It's not there. There is a similar D-Log or whatever it's called on the HUBSAN Zino Pro, but the HUBSAN Zino Mini SE doesn't have that. It just has JPEG, DNG, but video, it's straight MP4. Okay. Again, it has the bit rate between 45 and 100 megabits per second for the bit rate. It uses an SD card, use a U3 card, and you'll be fine. Maximum speed 16 meters per second, which is really fast, really good. And it has the option you can go between H.264 and H.265, depending on the equipment you have and what you want. So that's a good feature as well. There are two models, technically, but they're not. They're the same, just a different battery. If you use the standard battery, you're going to be over the 250 grams. If you use the Pro battery, you'll be under the 250 grams. The difference. And the difference in flight time is minuscule. It's about a minute. So they say 30 minutes. So I'm saying you get a really decent 20-minute flight time on both of them. Okay? It says it has an 8-kilometer range. It has very good range. Very good range. It's up there with the HUBSAN Zino Minis. Okay? I think I've had it out 3 kilometers. That's the most I've had it out. But it is very good, very good. Okay, operating temperature between 0 and 40 degrees Celsius. This is where the red lights come on for me. Okay, if you get, and there's a video, I have videos on this, jello. Okay, if you get below 10 degrees Celsius, you're going to have jello. You can adjust the gain a little bit, manipulate it between 50% and 35%, somewhere in there, and you get rid of a little bit of it. But as the temperature goes down, no. Okay, it has cold weather issues, just like my Bebops did from many, many years ago. Different little scenario, but it's got cold weather issues, so I can't really fly it. I guess I could fly for five minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, maybe. If I warmed up the battery and flew it, I could probably get maybe a minute or a minute and a half before it started to jello. But I don't have confidence in it in cold, cold weather. The standard version, it's still now 319. It was 349, it was 369, it was 389. And they've brought it back down to 319. The Pro version, just $10 more at 329. The Pro version was 389, 399, and they've dropped that down again. Okay, so let's take this slide away and let's look at this. This is the FIMI X8 Mini. I hated this thing when it first came out, and then they did updates and updates, and it became one of my favorites. I could fly it. The HDR on this was incredible. It had really good video, good pictures, not great, but really good pictures, good flight time. It used the SD card that I like, H.264, great. Has a very sturdy, robust gimbal cover. And one of the nice things I like, see this? Okay, these are flush. They don't force themselves in. They don't spring out, okay? They're flush. Great, love that. And even the rear has legs on it. So it's easy to take them out, just like the front. It has the legs on. I love that. It's great. Okay. Again, the battery is not interchangeable. It's a proprietary battery, but it does take a USB-C. Okay. And you can plug in to the back a micro USB and get your black box files for diagnostic files to send to FIMI if there's a problem. And that's something you cannot do with the Zino Mini SE. It does have that micro USB in the back, but it's worthless, useless. I just got the information from HUBSAN. It's a diagnostic tool for when they get the drone back. Okay, it's only used in the factory. You plug it in, it just powers up the drone. That's all. It doesn't connect to your computer. It doesn't see anything. You can't exchange files. You can't download anything. You can't do anything with it. This one, you can. Okay, so great. However, having said that, the controller, very unique controller. I like it. It's got the accordion. Okay, great. Put your phone in there. This doesn't quite fit, so I have to use the same tablet mount. Okay, great feeling, great response, everything beautiful. USB-C, no. May look like USB-C, But unless you use the cable that came with it, it doesn't work. And I've got a video on that as well. You have to use their cable. You can put an extension on here, and I've got, you can put a USB-C to USB-C, and then you can put a cable and put a tablet on, no problem at all. But you have to use this and USB-C end for the controller into there, because they changed some resistance in this end. Okay, not this end. Something happened at this end, so it's proprietary, and that's a beef. Okay, that's a beef. But having said that, I did get some really good skis for it, and these are even better than the Mavic Mini ones. Okay, these clip on, clip off. I can fly it and bring it down, yes, but it's over 250 grams when I put them on. Okay, so that's that. Okay, that's how that works. Let me look at this here for a second here. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about the difference between them across the board. Okay, so let's put the next slide up. Here we go. Okay, if we look at all the cameras across the top, the HUBSAN Zino Mini Pro has purportedly the best camera out there. 1 over 1.3 CMOS, 48 megapixel photos, f-stop 1.85, great for low light. Okay, but every time I've flown that, whether it's been 50 megabits per second bit rate, 100 bit rate, 200 bit rate, 30 frames per second, 4K, 1080p, 60 frames per second, I go out. I have a lot of trees out here that don't have leaves on them right now. And when you get past that 50-meter distance, like 0 to infinity, past that 50 or 80 meter in the distance type thing, the trees look like somebody's painted them with watercolor. Grass looks like a billiard table top. It's all mushed together. And no matter what, they've just got to dial it in. On paper, it's an amazing camera. It's got so much possibilities. It's just not dialed in yet. The DJI Mini series has a 1 over 2.3 CMOS camera on all of them. It's phenomenal. Very detailed, very crisp, very sharp. Colors are great. Awesome. The biggest downfall with the DJI is the NFZs, okay, no-fly zones. Okay, that's what many people are discouraged about. But of all of them here, best bang for the buck is probably the Mini2. Okay, it's reliability, it's phenomenal camera, it's got a decent range, it's got a great controller, it's got H.264, it's got micro SD card, but it doesn't have, or it has the NFZ zone thing, and the props, you have to be careful when you put them in to a case. Okay, that's the biggie. Okay, we go down to which one has the most enabled camera. Well, if you take the Mavic 2, Mini 2, sorry, and all the other, everything is 4K, 30 frames per second, whatever, so it's the same that way. They all take JPEG, some take RAW as well, some take DNG. You can have a look at that. Go down to the maximum bit rates. Nobody goes over the 100 except for the Zino Mini Pro. And I don't see any reason why it does. I don't know why they put it in there. I would rather have seen something else than that. Maybe an F-Log or maybe something HDR. But they did put HDR finally. So, but that's kind of an iffy thing as well. So there's, you know what I mean? Okay, we keep on going down. Maximum speeds, roughly they're all around 16 meters per second, except for the Mavic Mini and the Mini SE, which is a little lower. But 14, 16 meters per second, you know. Most of them, all the minis have, all the DJIs have a 30-minute flight, and the others have 40. Well, the Zinos have 40 and 45, and the Fimi has a 30-minute. Okay, we're back. I had to answer the phone. So where were we? Yes, the H.264, H.265. That's a sticking point for me. The only one that forces you into H.265 is the Zino Mini Pro. Okay. Batteries, I've discussed that. You can interchange the Mavic Mini batteries with the Zinos, the HUBSANs. I wouldn't recommend flying with them, but you can plug them in and it will fire it up and you can do your things with them that way. Okay, so it's another use for that. But and the batteries for the two HUBSANs are interchangeable. They're the exact same thing. Okay. Range. Who has the biggest range? Well, the Mini2 and OcuSync 2 or 3, whatever it is, and the Zino Mini Pro purportedly have 10 kilometers. I doubt it, but that's what it says. And then the others around 6 or 8. So still, if I can get 2 or 3 kilometers out here, that's amazing. If I can get a kilometer, which is my line of sight might be 800 meters or so. Okay, so if I go around the lakes and that, I might get 700 meters. And if I can get a solid connection, that's fine. That's fine by me. Down to the big one, the price. Okay. Zino Mini Pro, top dog in price. Is it worth it? I still say no. No, it's not. I still say it was a test. It was I wanted to say in my video, I say it's a prototype. And since they've come out with this, they've come out with how many more HUBSANs that have the same technology or something they were testing on this that they put into other ones. They've come out with the Zino Mini. They've come out with it. But that's not out in the market yet, which was basically this exact same one, the Zino Mini Pro, without the obstacle avoidance. But I haven't seen that in the market yet. They come out with the Zino Mini SE, which is basically the Zino Mini Pro with the obstacle avoidance and a little bit smaller camera, which I think is better because in lighted situations, it's a lot better. Okay. Then the Fimi. The Fimi has reduced its price to its opening market value as it was originally, which was $319. So in today's market, with everything going up and up and up and up, that's not a bad price, but it's not a cold weather flyer. But I like the design, I like the gimbal cover, I like the way it fits, I like the controller, I don't like the proprietary cable. There's a lot of things to like about that. Okay, so let's take the slide away and we'll do a conclusion. Okay, that was a long-winded session, wasn't it? But in the end, you've got 6 really to choose from, okay? The DJI Mini2 at $449 for the regular one battery. These are all one battery pricings, okay? Is still really hard to beat. The DJI Mini SE is really hard to beat, okay? If you don't mind the controller and you don't mind the no-fly zone issue, it's amazing. You don't get 4K video, but for a travel drone, $299, why do you take a drone on travel? To get some good video. All this, if you're not a professional and you take a drone, say out of the country and you're going someplace, it's a gamble. Everything's a gamble. You take electronics, it's a gamble. So you better be prepared not to lose it, but not be that upset if something really bad happens to it. Okay? So you want something really simple to use, that's reliable, and doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. And the DJI Mini SE falls into that category. It has a few issues like The props you need a special cover for. The controller that I'm not really that happy with, but it's a very good drone. Okay, going across here, the FIMI X8 Mini. I really like it. I really do. In nice weather. So if you're in a country that doesn't have minus 20 degrees Celsius weather half the year, then it's a great option. It's built very well, very sturdy. It folds up very good. I like the way it's contoured. It fits in the bag. I got a cheap bag. It fits in the bag. And I'm getting another bag. What I'm doing is I'm taking my X8 Mini bag. I ordered another one, and it's going to fit my Zinos. I just have to edge it out a little bit. Okay, but the FIMI X8 Mini, it was great. I love taking it out and flying it. And then that jello issue started. So, and the drop zone. Okay, under 5 meters, that, and you don't know when it's going to happen. And when it happens, it happens. Okay, like one guy lost it in the river because he came down, stopped, hovered about 2 meters off the water, and it just went boom. And I have a video on that showing that it drops about 2 meters if you're not careful. Okay, so if you're not paying attention, you stop and hover, boom, it goes down. Below that realm of 5 meter from the ground type of thing. Okay, comes to the HUBSAN series. This one, the HUBSAN Zino Mini Pro, I find it awkward. Okay, you just have to plug this in. You can't use the regular cables because you get disconnects. You just have to plug this in to do an update. Plug this in, unplug this, plug that in, turn the power on, make sure you do it in the right sequence. Download this software. Be very careful. Move it around to get your obstacle avoidance packages working correctly and synchronized and doing it. And you have to do it again, and it gets really hot. Oh my God. Then you have to figure out how to get to that point because you have to have a sequence to start up the program. You have to have a Windows 10 or better. It just goes on and on. Getting the files off it to your computer, you plug it in. You got to plug your phone in to get them onto your phone. You wait forever. You download to the album from the drone. It takes a lifetime. Awkward is the word I use for it. Flies great. Great range. The videos, not bad in great light. You need a lot of light, okay, I think. But it does really good in low light, okay, because in low light you're not picking leaves off a tree, okay. So the camera is meant for lower light, I'm assuming. I'm not a camera guy, but that's kind of what I've come down to. That's about it. The Zino Mini SE, okay, has a decent controller. You can use any cable you want. A little issue with the sides sticking out, and if I push them in, the legs come out a little bit, okay? Finicky thing there, you know, finicky gimbal cover. But I don't get the drop zone. It hovers like a rock. 1080p 30, when they bring in 1080p 60, it'll be a lot better. Okay, 1080p 30. Great for this camera. For this, what, 2.1 over 2.6 CMOS camera? Great. Not quite there with the DJI, because DJI are phenomenal with cameras and stuff like that, but really good. And photos, really good for what it is, okay? So in my earlier video when I said this has replaced my DJI Mavic Mini, I'll never get rid of it. I got so much sentimental value with this. I'll never get rid of it, and I'll fly it in the cold, and I'll have fun with it, and all this kind of stuff. Okay. If I had the Mini2, my only issue would be flying in no-fly zones, or what they call no-fly zones. That would be it. Okay. And I can use H.264. I don't know if they're going to bring H.264 for this, and I don't know if they're going to introduce H.265 for this one. But you know, The other downside is when you open this up, there's no leg here, okay, like on the Fimi, okay, and they open up like scissors, which I like, not like the Mini series where they come backwards, okay, so that's pretty good. So I'm liking this overall because I get really good video. I don't have to wait for connections. It doesn't ask me for a compass calibration every 5 minutes. And this sometimes asks me quite a bit for a compass calibrations. This one, it's hit and miss with a compass calibration, and it's very hit and miss with compass calibration. You see my videos on compass calibration. You do the dance, you do this, nothing works. Some people it works, sometimes it doesn't. 4 or 5 times I tried. For the Fimi X8 Mini, hold bar none, the truest way to get it, and it's ridiculous, okay? The idea behind a compass calibration is you keep the center axis still and rotate around that axis. When you've got your hand and you're moving and you're doing this, you try your best and it works, okay? Then you hold it up and you do the thing and you don't want to squish anything and you do your best, okay? Okay. This may sound stupid and you may look ridiculous, but I've told a few people about it. They couldn't get a compass calibration to work, and it worked. Now, this is the Fimi X8 Mini, okay? You start the compass calibration. You hold it in your hand above your head, so it's right above your head. And you pivot 4 times like a ballerina, okay? And then all you have to do is hold it up right above your head and pivot 4 more times. Don't even look at your phone. Don't look at the phone. Then bring it down. I'll guarantee you, you'll get a successful calibration every time, okay? Do not look at the phone when you're doing a compass calibration on this. 5 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10, it doesn't work. When you change, when you keep rotating, it just says keep rotating, keep rotating, keep rotating. You know, so there are issues with this, okay, for that part of it, okay? I really liked it. I really liked it. I never liked it. I really like it, okay? That's my 2 cents worth. That's the wrap. My coffee's cold. I'm out of breath. Time to do something else. Maybe if the weather clears up, I'll go out for a flight, see what happens, okay? Take it for what you will. My opinions, I've flown them all. The Zino Mini SE outperforms that on a few levels, outperforms this for me on a few levels, outperforms this on a few levels, okay? One of my downfalls for this one specifically, which was enhanced in the next 2 versions, which is the SE version and the Mini 2, is wind resistance, okay? This has very, very little wind resistance, okay? But the Mini 2 is the top dog from DJI as far as the Minis go, okay? So if I said the Mini 2 versus this, that would be really tough. For me, I don't fly in many places where I might have an issue, but if I wanted a cheaper drone, I'd probably go this, okay? And customer service, Fimi, it's all out of China. DJI is out of China and also the USA. HUBSAN, it's out of China and it's out of the USA, because I got this one from HUBSAN US, which is not really affiliated with HUBSAN China, but it is. It's in Brooklyn, New York, and if I had a problem, I'd ship this back to Brooklyn, New York. I wouldn't be shipping it to China, okay? They are looking for recruits, anybody want a job, to get troubleshooters across the world. They're looking for people in Italy, they're looking for people in the States. Who knows, Okay, maybe they're capitalizing and they're getting bigger. Maybe they've got an influx of money coming in. There's so many drones they're coming out with. They've got the Mavic Mini. Probably not going to continue with that one, but they have the Mini SE. Then they have 3 Aces coming out. The Ace Standard, Ace Pro, Ace Pro Plus, and then in the works is going to be the Night King, which is the 4/3 sensor. $1,200, I don't know. But they did say they're going to come out with a Zino Mini Pro Thermal. I haven't seen that either. So they got a lot in the works, okay? Again, I digress. I keep on going. Enjoy your day. Get out there. Go back. Take a snapshot of the spreadsheet I had. Have a look at it. If you want to download it, I'll put it in the link below. I don't know. I really like it. It's a good one, okay? Good one, good one. Not bad. Don't like it. Okay? See you in the next one. Get out there, stay safe. Enjoy the winter.